Hey, Buffalo Boys listeners, we are back. Episode 8, Week 8. And it's your co-host, Ryan, back after a short hiatus. Glad to be back, joined, as always, by my co-host, Todd. Todd, happy hump day. How have you been?
I've been good, Ryan. We definitely missed you last week. Jimmy filled in admirably and is excited to be back on in the future. Bad time for him this week. We had a lot of positive feedback on YouTube over the Fantasy Feud, a lot of good commentary, a lot of people excited to hear it again. So we'll definitely be bringing that back in the future. I've been doing good. I thought it could be fun if we just did some highs and lows since we haven't talked to each other in 2 weeks. So I'll kick it off. My low this week probably was working till 12:30 on Tuesday in the morning, and then losing fantasy and Green Bay Packers losing. All those are up there. But in terms of the high, I had a high. I can't remember what it was now.
How about I talk about my lows and my highs, and you'll think about your high, because we need a high. We need a high from you, Todd. I mean, it can't just be all lows. My low was leaving my favorite Navy suit in Orlando at the timeshare that I was at this weekend. Allegedly, they're sending it back. Allegedly, I don't feel super confident about that. But I love that suit. It looked really good on me, if I do say so myself. So I hope to get it back. The high was seeing my girlfriend the last 2 weeks in a row, last 2 weekends in a row. We're doing a long distance thing. So we hung out in Houston 2 weeks ago, and then we were in Orlando for a wedding this past weekend. It was just super, super fun. Did lots of great things. So yeah, that was my last 2 weeks.
That's exciting, man. What'd you do in Orlando? Did you go to the parks at all?
Yeah, so it was actually a Disney wedding. So they got married at the Disney Pavilion. Then the reception was at Epcot at Italy. It was crazy. We got bussed into the back of the park, then got seated in this private area right on the water, and then 10 minutes later the fireworks started, so we were getting a front row seat to that. We were at the park till 2 a.m. dancing, we had the whole park to ourselves. It was pretty crazy. And then the day after that we did drinking around the world at Epcot. We only drank at 5 different countries. The group was kind of lame. I know I kind of wanted to go harder, but yeah, it was what it was. And then we did jet skis on Saturday on the coast, which was super fun. I love jet skis. So yeah,
your highs
overall.
Yeah, your highs are definitely higher than my highs. I remembered what I was going to say for my high. I had my fantasy basketball work league draft this week. And I got Victor Wembanyama. I can never say his name right. Yeah. And I am so thrilled for him. The best part, though, the actual high is I named my team, Sir, this is a Wemby's.
Nice. Love it. Well, good luck to your fantasy basketball team this year, Todd. That's exciting. As a former San Antonio resident, I'm also rooting for Wemby. Hope he has a great year. And with all of that, I would like to bring in. Wait, is it? We're doing it live. Fuck it. Hey, Mattress Black is on the pod. First time ever.
Hello. Yes. Thank you for having us.
Not the smoothest transition on my part, Doug. I apologize, but we're very happy to have you. First off, how have you been? How is your life? And then how's life been in the WPFL for you this year?
Yeah, that's a couple of good questions there, Ryan. Life has been chaotic, to say the least. This last year and a half, my kid turns 1.5 here in a few weeks, and he's a lot. Having a kid is a lot of work, so it's been a lot. I'm unemployed, which is not hard. Being unemployed is quite easy and awesome. And work sucks, so I'm enjoying that. However, I am feeling the societal pressure to get back into having a job again. So I will be job hunting here in the next few weeks. Other than that, man, yeah. So that's kind of my personal life. It's been a lot of being a dad, not working, and hanging out, trying to maximize that time. As far as the WPFL, boys, I gotta say it's been a pretty good year so far. As we can see, we can all see the luck standings, and we can see that I've been quite lucky. I'm 5-2. I'm tied. I think there's a 4-way tie for first this week, which is pretty disappointing for me because I had that sole possession of first place last week, and unfortunately, I took a real tough 0.36 point loss to Neil last week. So I'm kind of reeling from that, but things look good going forward into this week. So all in all, can't complain.
Awesome. Good luck on the job front.
Thank you.
A couple of the homies are without jobs at the moment, so rooting for you guys.
Very few of us. I think it might just be me and Nixon these days, because I think
right.
Mike just locked one up. So shout out to Mike Hoyle. Congrats on getting down some gainful employment, and I hope to be back in that side of the society soon.
Absolutely. Great to have you here, and it's great to have your sponsorship as always. Of course, we are talking about Doug's fantastic business, Mattress Blacks. He's been a sponsor of the pod since day one, and if you're looking for a comfortable mattress for a good night's sleep, there's only one place to go, and that's Mattress Blacks.
I got a king-size mattress that's good for your bird.
Buffalo Boys listeners this week only who use the promo code CRAPOUT at checkout. That's CRAP space OUT. Todd, I think Doug is getting ready for our couple days in Vegas coming up here soon. We're all very excited about that. Those Buffalo Boys listeners who use that code get 25% off their first purchase this week. Very kind of you, Doug. And as always, at Mattress Blacks, you can find a king-size mattress that's good for your back.
And Ryan, I want to, this is kind of a world first, but I want to announce a new product that Mattress Blacks is releasing here. We're actually releasing a mattress that's designed to be slid underneath a homie that might have passed out on the floor. So we call it the spatula mat. And basically, it's an inflatable mattress. It takes about 1 minute to inflate via just typical human air, and you can slide. It's got a tapered bottom, so you can slide it underneath your homie, and you could have a great night's sleep, despite the fact that he passed out on the floor, ruining the party early.
Wow, Todd, the spatula mat. I don't think I've ever been more excited about a product. And listen, we've had some firsts announced on the pod before. After all, Forrest did announce his engagement a week before it actually happened on the pod. That was pretty big. But spatula mat, that might be even bigger. So thanks.
We're pretty excited about it. We're pretty excited about it. Thank you for sharing our excitement. And that's code crap out to all of our Buffalo Boys podcast listeners out there.
Ryan, I'm pretty excited because I have 100% confidence that Doug has product tested this himself many, many, many times. Isn't that right, Doug?
Well, we can't get into specifics, but rest assured that this is a well tested product that has a good product market fit, I would say.
And then for our other sponsor, Farmer Dave's, he wanted to let everyone know that you bought him out. He's got nothing left. He is replanting for the winter and gearing up for a strong comeback in the spring.
Wow. We did it, Buffalo Boys listeners. Way to go. Thanks for supporting Farmer Dave's and Mattress Blacks, as always. Very happy to have them on our team. Before we get into the pod, as we do every week, Todd, Doug, what are you guys sipping on?
This week, Ryan, I've got Angel's Envy. It is a private barrel select. I forget from what store, but it is great. It's pretty medium body and very enjoyable. What about you, Doug?
That's a great question, Todd. I hate to kind of let the pod down, but I most recently sipped upon a Gatorade Zero frost flavor, and that was quite tasty. Not having a drink here at 3:20 in the afternoon here. I stayed home with the kid today, so I was on kid duty, and I just got free right before the pod started. So that's been my priority today. But catch me in Vegas. I'm sure honestly, not even Vegas, Phoenix. We'll have a lot to talk about when it comes to what I'm sipping on.
Absolutely.
Ryan, what are you sipping on?
Doug, I'm going to be as lame as you are. I'm drinking on some ice water right now. I did just get off work, and I'm technically still on the clock for another 38 minutes, technically. But really enjoying some ice water right now. Got to stay hydrated. Perhaps I'll break something open later today, but hydro homing right here.
We gotta film the pod in a time zone where not only Todd can be having in a societal acceptably timed drink. Also, I think I said Pacific, but I'm in the Mountain Time. That was a little cringe.
No, all good. Maybe we could do a live pod during the Scottsdale Vegas trip.
Todd mentioned that. I think that could be a really fun idea. I think that could be really, really cool.
Yeah, I would love to. We would have. I mean, it's up to Todd to figure out how that all works, but I would love to do that. So anyway, it's an idea. Todd, I guess you have some trivia for us?
Before we dive in, though, Ryan, cheers.
Of course. Cheers.
And yes, we don't want to waste any of Doug's time because his time is worth a lot of money. That's all I know for sure. But yes, let's go into trivia.
My time is objectively worth $0 right now. So thank you, Todd. But yeah, no, my time is I can't argue that.
Diving in, we just have one trivia question this week. The question is, how many sacks is Sam Howell on pace for this season? How many sacks is Sam Howell on pace for this season?
Is this at the end of the regular season, or I'm assuming?
Yes.
And I've been terrified to join this pod and do trivia since the minute I heard you guys were in trivia because I feel like it's going to really expose my poor football knowledge. But let's see. There's been we're in week 8 now. There's been 7 weeks. Has he had a bye week yet?
Nope.
16 weeks. Let's assume he's been doing like 2 sacks a week. I'm going to guess 32 sacks for the end of the season, Todd. That's my guess.
Ryan, what say you?
Yeah, I haven't been watching a lot of Commanders games, but I have a feeling that Sam Howell gets sacked a lot based on your question.
You have to, right? Yeah, that has to be the assumption.
Right, yeah, it has to be. I mean, I like 32. I'll go over. I'll go 40. I don't know.
Is this Price is Right rules? Is this Price is Right rules, Todd? Yeah. What's the situation?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. All right.
Before I go into the answer, keep everyone a little bit on suspense here, or in suspense, whatever. Do you know who holds the record and how much or how many sacks they incurred in a season?
You know what? I feel like I saw this stat a week or two ago. And it's bad. Like some of these like really bad teams who had rookie QBs, I mean, they got lit up. I think Geno Smith had a really tough either rookie season or second year where he just got pummeled. I don't know.
I don't have an intelligent guess. So here's what my dumbass would have said is like, oh, Cam Newton, because I know our line kind of sucked for a while, but it's kind of hard to sack Cam Newton, so that's also a pretty bad guess. Ultimately, I just don't have faith in myself to get the right answer. So I'm curious what it is, Todd.
It is actually David Carr in 2002, rookie season with the Raiders. He had 76 sacks, which
my God,
75 sacks a game.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing he's still playing.
Damn, I knew that.
I didn't know that, but that's a pretty good guess if you would put me in context of like his Raiders seasons.
And without further ado, the answer to this week's trivia is 97 sacks is his current pace. He is averaging 5.7 sacks a game right now. He had a 9-sack game. He already has 40 sacks. You both were only guess his life to date count.
Sam Howell. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. So
I wonder. I haven't seen a lot of discourse about Niners fans being just like terrified that he's going to be, injured instantly.
Niners.
By Niners, I mean Commanders fans. Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of discourse about I haven't seen Jimmy or Mike be like, oh, he's like not going to be able to play in like a year.
Yeah.
I would definitely be worried.
But I'd be scared. Yeah, I'd be like super scared. Like 96 hits. Come on.
So Todd, I don't know if you've been watching more Commanders games than me. who gets the blame? I mean, obviously, like, is their offensive line just awful, or does he just not know when to get rid of the ball?
And I think it ties back to his UNC days. He's always trying to make the big play. Anecdotally, I can't read his mind, but from my observation, he holds on trying to get the downfield throw. He throws a lot of downfield shots, and the O-line is terrible. He is quick, though. He actually has gotten out of a lot of sacks, too, so it could be even worse at this point.
That's crazy.
So, Todd, would you say that a situation like this is why someone might kind of go for a lot of check down passes? Because, like, if your QB doesn't have time to go for these long downfield throws, why are they going for them?
Yeah, it's a great question, Doug, and one that I'm sure Eric Bieniemy is fully in the weeds of.
Okay.
With that, though, I would like to offer you gentlemen a weekly wager. My weekly wager is that Sam Howell is sacked 6 or more times. That is higher than his game average, just barely.
Who's he playing this week?
The Eagles.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take you on that. I think the Eagles will sack him 6 or more times.
I mean,
I watched that full Lions game. It was brutal. I mean, the Eagles are a really good team. I mean, the Lions offense was really bad, but Eagles defense definitely showed up. So I'm definitely not going to bet against you on that one, Todd.
I open it up to our faithful listeners. If you would like the weekly wager, put it in on the YouTube chat, put it in the group chat. We're happy to have a fun little wager here.
And just to clarify, Todd, you're guessing that he will get
over. Six or more.
Okay. 6 or more sacks.
Okay. Yeah, so if you think he'll get the under and you want to take Todd's money. Okay, got it. Cool. All right, Todd. Well, thank you for that. Great trivia as always. You want to talk about our clown owner of the week last week or the quality control coach first?
We can dive in to our quality control coach.
Awesome.
This week, the glory and honor goes to Rick, who not only trounced your season-long prediction of only 2 wins by week 7, but also nearly started his optimal lineup and got a crucial win.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about my awful take on Rick's team. A formal apology will be coming later in the podcast, Rick, I promise, so stay tuned for that. He's probably not listening. He's really turned it around. Okay, so if Rick is the quality control coach, who is your clown owner?
Our clown owner is no surprise this week. Everyone saw it coming. We already talked about it in the league chat, and everyone was talking about how disappointed they were in their commissioner. But it's actually going to our surprise guest of the week here, Doug.
What? Okay.
Doug, I wasn't planning on having you on the pod, and I had these notes. I'm just reading my notes right now, so I'm so sorry.
No, you should not pull punches because someone's on the pod.
You are the clown this week, and that's because Nixon, he still got the win despite leaving 37 points on the bench. Doug, you lost your matchup by 0.36 points and left 13.5 points on the bench. I know you can't feel that great about it, and you only have yourself to blame for starting Zach Evans over Josh Kelly and Zeke. How do you feel about that, Doug?
You know me. I'm quite pugnacious. I would love to argue with you here, but I can't. I think you're right. I think that starting Evans, especially, it came out that apparently Nixon saw that Evans was in line for 3rd running back duties Sunday morning. I missed that entirely, and so it was matchup losing. I probably would have swapped him out and put someone else in that would have gotten me at least 0.3 points. So it's a painful loss. It's one that I'm quite unhappy with. I think what made it even worse was just watching it. Right? Like we've all had this fantasy losses where you go to bed and you're like down 15, but you're like, he's got 30 points projected. He's got like 4 starters left. You go to bed, you wake up, and you're like, I lost by half a point. Oh, that kind of sucks, but that happens. That was not the case here, boys. I watched every minute of the last quarter of the Dolphins game, and I watched every snap of the Dolphins refusing to throw to Tyreek Hill. I needed literally one Tyreek Hill reception, and it would have been a W. And I watched the whole quarter play out, and it was not okay. So yeah, it was pretty brutal, and I think that you're right. A better owner would have not
Raw,
lost the game.
unadulterated pain from Doug.
Yeah, a better owner would have not lost that game. Alas, I'm the one in charge of my own team.
Yeah, we've all been there, Doug. Fantasy really does make watching football awful at times, but I know you'll bounce back. You've got a good team. We'll talk a little bit more about them later in the pod. But right now, we've got some quick hit stats courtesy of PodGod. So, Todd, as always, hit me.
Gladly, Ryan. But before I do, Ryan, our great commissioner had a couple quick hit stats of his own that he wanted to share with us. Let's hear from him.
Looking at expected wins this week, a new luck god reigns over his faithful, and that god is me. After finally passing Doug with my mediocre win over Forrest this week, I'm atop the rankings. Adler's luck is honestly unbelievable. This has to be the best team we've ever seen with only 2 wins. Adler is 4th in performance so far, but is tied for last in the standings. It's unbelievably bad scheduling luck. By my research, only Neil's 2012 has ever been more than 2 wins behind expected this late in the year. Moving on to coaching and optimal lineups, we see Mike Simpson had a perfect coaching week, but is still on top with 98.98 points left on his bench over the entire year. Just behind him is Mims, who's left around 2 points behind this week, but still gained on Mike in the overall category. I myself took a big jump on this list after leaving Foreman on my bench Sunday. If everyone was coaching perfectly, Mims would be leading points for, with Neil and Jimmy not far behind, while Mike Simpson would be bringing up the rear. Looking at expected wins this week, a new luck god reigns over his faithful, and that god is me. After finally passing Doug with my mediocre win over Forrest this week, I'm atop the rankings. Adler's luck is honestly unbelievable. This has to be the best team we've ever seen with only 2 wins. Adler is 4th in performance so far, but is tied for last in the standings. It's unbelievably bad scheduling luck. By my research, only Neil's 2012 has ever been more than 2 wins behind expected this late in the year.
Thanks, Nixon. Jumping off that same point, Neil over Doug was with 0.36 points, was the 11th closest margin in WPFL history. Not quite as close as your 0.2 win earlier this season there, Ryan. And then, we're halfway through the regular season. I thought it'd be a good checkpoint to see how all the rosters are doing. So I took a look at the teams that are doing the best and the worst at each position group to really, double down. Starting off with myself, my defenses have only scored 25 points. 25 points, Ryan. That's barely, 4 points a week, 3 points a week?
That's really bad.
And
That's where it's terrible.
Yeah, and the next worst is 42. I'm just doing trash on defenses. And Forrest leads with 89, and that was primarily from that gigantic week 1 from the Dallas Cowboys. Moving on to the flex position, AJ's flex has only scored 45.8 points, far overshadowed by your 189 on the season, Ryan. I guess you could say AJ's not good at flexing. And then moving on to Adler. Adler, the kicker god, has only had 39.2 points from his kicker. Again, overshadowed by Forrest, who has 80 points from his kicker so far. Hoyle has the least points scored by his QB at 86.76 points, which is
oh my god!
Yeah.
What? Oh my god, that's terrible.
That's really bad.
He's getting 12 points a game from his QB. Oh my goodness.
That's a third of our leader, with Neil at 240 so far this season. It's also the second worst through week 7 in WPFL history.
Oh boy.
And yeah, it's Rick, if you were wondering.
You know what I was, so thank you.
At running back, Nixon leads the way with 278.7 points, severely eclipsing second with only 205 points. So Nixon has just been off to the races, with Mostert, or previously with Mostert. And our guest is in last with 105.5 points.
Yeah.
What do you need to say for yourself, Doug?
I don't have anything to say. I think that's been somewhat of the strategy. I thought Najee Harris would do a little bit better. He did not. I drafted hard for wide receivers. That was clearly my strategy when I drafted, and my running backs have suffered quite hard for it.
So when you go really hard in the draft for receivers, normally you see a lot of waiver activity for the running backs. How have your bids gone for running backs so far?
Pretty good. I think I've picked up a net amount of like 3 or 4 running backs in waivers. This talking point might be a little outdated from this week, Todd, where I picked up another running back. I think I've picked up 2 running backs in the last 2 weeks. So,
are you referencing the one that got you 0 points? I can't quite remember.
I am, and that is a dunk, and I respect it. But I've been trying to find the answer unsuccessfully.
Second to your running back performance is your tight end performance. You had the least amount of points scored from your tight end with only 24.6 points, Doug. 24.6. Let that sink in.
I don't like this podcast. I think you guys are.
Yeah, Todd, you're really going hard on our.
There's a bunch of gotcha questions here. You said I've scored 24 points. That can't be right, Todd. In 7 weeks with my running backs.
Tight ends.
Yeah, that can't be right.
Well, you're free to look it up on Nixon's great website.
You know what? I'm going to. We won't debate it right now, Todd, but that feels very incorrect. I think I didn't get like 7 points last week alone. 8?
Maybe.
I got 8 points. Oh no, 7 points. Yeah, no, that's wrong, Todd. I'm sorry. Oh, no,
we'll see.
Sorry, that's Neil. That was Neil's tight end. I'll look into it. Okay. My tight ends, and my running backs have been glaring weaknesses in my roster. You do not have to have played fantasy for more than 2 weeks to understand that I have a very min-max team, and the max is all about running wide receivers, and I'm really hoping that Tyreek Hill comes back and we can carry the team to victory.
Did you know, Doug, that you have the least amount of tight end points through week 7 in WPFL history? You have to go back to 2018 when Jimmy and his tight ends only scored 31.1 to even come close.
I did not know that. Thank you for telling me, Todd. Yeah, now we all do. I feel like this is bullshit. I got to look this shit up, man. Hold on. I'm not going to look it up right now because I believe that you have not fucked up in just pulling basic stats. That sounds crazy, though.
Well, you know me and my Excel spreadsheets, Doug.
Yeah, well, better luck this week, Doug. Rooting for your tight ends. Moving on, it's transaction review. Todd, have we had any notable waiver moves this week?
In terms of waivers, nothing too notable in actual outcome. But I do want to touch on the 2 trades that have happened. So Nixon traded for Pollard and sent Mostert. So that was a big trade, capitalizing on bye weeks. But the blockbuster trade was Mike sending Forrest, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, and Tajay Spears for Saquon, Swift, and Garrett Wilson. Huge trades, and it didn't get Mike the win. So, he traded some good pieces, got some good pieces. I think the trade calcs favored Mike overall. As they always do. It's kind of like a broken script at this point, but I do like the big trades there. A lot of fun to see, and hopefully we'll see some more this week.
Let's hope so. Before we go into matchup rundown,
Before we do whatever you're about to do, Ryan, I would like to say I have done a skimming of my tight end performances, and Todd is correct. My tight end performances this season have been atrocious. So, good call out, Todd. I'm sorry for doubting you.
Our first official fact check on the WPFL this season. So thank you for that, Doug. I usually just take Todd for his word. He could have been lying this whole time, but it appears not.
It sounded so wrong, but it was so right. What do you got for us, Ryan?
Yeah, matchup rundown review. I did not make picks last week, so my record for the season stays at 18-10. I'm assuming you made some picks, Todd. How did they go?
I did. I didn't follow up on Jimmy's picks. I don't know how he did, but I think we were on the opposite end of a couple, so he probably was a little bit worse than me if I had to take a guess. High level, though, I hit 4 wins out of 7, which puts me at 32-17 on the season. I missed on my poor performance against Dave, as well as Mims and Forrest letting me down, but otherwise a decent week overall.
Nice. Congrats on that. And now it is matchup rundown. Since we have our distinguished guest Doug on the pod, let's start with his team. Of course, he mentioned that there's a 4-way tie for first right now in the league. 4 teams at 5-2. I'm one of them. Doug is the other. This week, Doug is playing Rick, who is 3-4.
3 and 4.
First off, I'd like to apologize to Rick here. I know early on the season I said that he would have one of the worst seasons in WPFL history. Since then, he is now 3 and 4. He's won 2 games in a row. Clearly on a good trajectory up. So, Rick, I apologize for ever doubting you, talking shit. All right, Todd. How do you think Doug is going to do against Rick?
Can I actually go first?
Sure.
To remove all bias from the equation. Listen.
Absolutely.
All right. I think Rick is a trash owner, and I think that this is going to be a slam dunk in the favor of me. I think that looking at his team, I mean, Purdy probably won't play, and the rest of his team just isn't there. I think this is going to be a fat W for the Doug Black team in West Park Fantasy League.
Okay, some strong words, a big prediction from the Mattress Black himself. Todd, is Doug correct? Is this going to be a slam dunk for him?
Doug, I thought you were a big fan of kickers, and Rick actually rosters the number 1 kicker in the league right now. How do you feel about that?
He does, but I also roster the number 4, and I think Butker's slept upon. I think that Dustin Hopkins is a little bit of a fraud. He's had a couple good performances, but ultimately he doesn't have the fundamentals like Butker does. So I think that that's going to be another slam dunk in the favor of my squad.
I am worried for Rick's squad. Purdy banged up. Waddle seems perpetually hurt. Like, he goes down almost every game, and you're like, he might be done for the season. And then he comes back out and is just like limping around. Great on him for playing through, but it feels like he's just always hurt, and he's always got that cue. And Mostert's banged up, so it's a little worrisome. But A.J. Brown is the hottest receiver in the NFL right now. Maybe second to Tyreek Hill, probably second to Tyreek Hill. But with Hill a little banged up, it's a toss-up here. I'm really torn. I wrote down Rick, and then Doug was slightly convincing me, and then I remembered Doug's running backs and tight ends, and felt comfortable saying that Doug would lose.
Did you see that I picked up DeMarcado, though? Pretty big pickup.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
All right, Todd. Well,
thank you, Todd. Thank you, Todd, for your thoughts. I think those are good thoughts.
Todd, I don't know if you could put an alarm sound effect right now, because I'm also thinking that there's an upset alert here.
Oh no!
Oh no! Sorry, Doug.
You guys have me on the pod just to tear me down. I see what's going on here. Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
This was an open invitation, Doug, and you accepted.
Listen, Rick definitely has some injury concerns this week. If either of his Dolphins don't play, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. If his QB doesn't play, it's going to be an uphill battle, and he'll probably lose. But if everyone stays healthy, I think he's going to squeeze it out. I really like Miami against New England here, and then he's got 2 Eagles against a really bad Commanders team. So, that's what I'm thinking. Plus, if you look at his average score, his team has averaged 116 points a week versus Doug's 101.99.
Fraudulent. It's not fraudulent, though. It's fraudulent.
Well, it is a stat. So, anyway, that's my thinking here. We're clearly split. Doug, I'm wishing you the best, but we will.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Todd. You guys both have really good analysis, which I always respect.
Thank you.
Just in case you have to jet off at any point, Doug, is there any bold predictions or any last things you want to tell our audience?
I am going to jet off because I've already spent 50 minutes now leaving my child with my wife, and it's kind of supposed to be my job right now. But my bold prediction will be that Adler will make playoffs.
Nice. I respect it.
That's my prediction.
Is that a juggernaut?
Wow. Is that a 2-5 Adler making the playoffs? Okay.
Yes. That's my current. I think that he turns it around really hard the next 4 weeks, and then he's 6-5 and not that far away from making a playoff spot. That's my take.
I love it.
This is all right. Love you both, Todd and Ryan. Thank you guys for having me, and good luck with the rest of the pod.
Love you too, Doug. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right,
you're a great sport, Doug. We appreciate you.
Just remember, don't get buffaloed.
Not yet, Doug. Not yet.
All right. The great Mattress Black on the pod for the first time. He said the first time ever. Man, I really thought he was on last year, but I guess not. So, wow, what a treat for all of our Buffalo Boys listeners. Todd, he did mention Adler, so I say we go into Adler's game this week. He is playing Dave Evans. It is the battle of the Daves, Evans versus Adler. Adler is currently projected to beat Dave by almost 20 points. Todd, will he in fact beat Dave Evans by 20 points?
It's incredible, Ryan. Adler's 123.7 projected points is the highest ESPN has given any team this season. And it's not without cause because Adler has a juggernaut, like I said. He's got a juggernaut team. It's the talent top down, the star talent. There's a lot to like on his team. And, he currently is the most unlucky in terms of scheduling so far this season. He should have more than 2 wins more than what he currently does. And, he's going to rectify that this week. He's going to get a good win against Dave. He's had Dave's number, winning 12 games to Dave's 8. And, Dave's team did perform well last week finally, but I just don't see that continuing. And, Adler's got a couple nice matchups, and I'm really excited to see big weeks from Pacheco and Gibbs. The only concern is how Hurts is Hurts.
Yes, big question there. I also think that Adler is going to run away with this game. My pick is Adler. Let's talk about my game of the week, Todd. There are 2 games this week between 5-2 teams and 4-3 teams. One of those is very close to our hearts. We will talk about that a little later. But let's first get into Jimmy, who's 4-3, versus our Commissioner Nixon, who is 5-2. Todd, how do you see this one going?
This one's a tough one, Ryan. I really feel like it's a toss-up. It'll be a close game in the low 100s for both sides. The big question is, will Olave play this week with his recent speeding issue? Will there be any fallout? Or, I could see the NFL just turning a blind eye or pushing this off till later, but I'm interested to see what happens on that front. I think Herbert is primed for a huge game this week. And I think the Jags-Steelers game will be big for deciding this one. It's got a decent over-under at 42 points. I'd smash the over if we were in Vegas, but I would smash the over and go with Jimmy here.
Okay. I'm going to go on the other side. I like Nixon's team. I think Josh Allen could have a day against Tampa, and I think Pollard could have a day against the Rams. So, yeah, this is my game of the week. I think it's going to be an exciting one either way. So can't wait to watch that. Now, let's talk about the other 5-2 versus 4-3 team. Todd, it is the battle of the Buffalo Boys, you versus me. I mean, listen, I can't pick against my team. I know that ESPN has me winning, projected to win. Throw all the projections out the window. It doesn't matter. I was always going to be rooting for my own team, and I assume that you'll also be rooting for your team, Todd?
Ryan, our history is deep. We were in the same division in WPFL when divisions were still a thing. Thank God we got rid of those. But as a result, we played each other a lot, especially when I was particularly trash at fantasy football and putting up my worst seasons. And, you have an 18-6 lead on me, the best margin in WPFL. So you've had my number. You've always had my number. And you stole from me my first WPFL championship. I think my team, I've been coaching them up. I've been giving them some Vince Lombardi speeches. I've been trying to find every motivational talk in the book to give the team. We're ready to roll, but we don't have CMC. And I think that's going to be the difference here. I'm actually, for the first time this season, going to pick against my team, maybe jinxing myself, hopefully, so that my team could win. But I'm going to pick you to win here. It's hard to see my team coming out on top without 2 monster weeks from some of my players. And, that's not out of the question. I definitely think Gabe, after 2 duds, is due for another breakout game. Fortunately, though, for myself, I don't think Kirk is going to have a great game against the Packers, who are really banged up, but the offense has been bad. And overall, the defense has been pretty good against receivers. So I don't think Kirk's going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think it'll be a bigger running game. So I think that's going to benefit me in our matchup. Here's to hoping, though. I still got you.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck, Todd. Thank you for picking my team. I hope that's not a curse on my team. We'll have to see. I think it's going to be a good game, though. I can't wait to watch it with you. Talking about our last 5-2 team that we haven't talked about, that is Neil, and he is taking on the 2-5 Mike Simpson. His team played a tough game against me last week. Of course, we're talking about Mike Simpson. And he didn't have quite enough to pull out the W. In this one, I have to go with Railroad Randy. Even though he's not currently rostering a kicker, maybe he's changed that. I wrote my notes this afternoon. Even without a kicker, I think Neil will still take the victory here. Todd, what are your thoughts?
I'm on the same side, Ryan. Mike will likely once again be disappointed by Burrow, T, and Ridley. He's a glutton for punishment at this point. Maybe he's a little distracted buying a house. It gets to everyone, really. But, the craziest thing about this matchup is when I was looking over it, I saw that Thielen is the wide receiver 7 on the season. How is that even possible? I don't know. But with respect to this game, I'm seeing another huge game for Keenan this week, and I think Neil is just going to trash Mike.
Yeah, averaging 17 points for the season, Adam Thielen is. That is pretty shocking. That's been a very quiet 17 points, in my opinion. Our next matchup is battle of the 3 and 4 teams. It is Mims versus Hoyle. I haven't been shy about my disappointment in Mims' team this season. I really thought he had a chance to win the whole thing. Season's not over yet, but 3 and 4 is not the way you want to start. However, I think he is going to pull out the W this week against Hoyle. Todd, do you think I'm wrong? I
do, Ryan. We are on opposite sides here. This is a crucial game. Both teams are desperate for a win. Having 5 losses it's tough to come back from that and still make the playoffs. That only gives you really one more loss to play with the rest of the season. Slim margins there. Hoyle's team is firing on all cylinders right now, and Mims is for some reason still starting Miles Sanders, and you can't feel good about that. While Lamar looked good last week, he looked great last week, and I think he's primed for another big week. But just look up and down Hoyle's roster. The worst thing that you can say about Hoyle is that he has to just make the right choice. He could play any of these players. His entire bench would start over half of Doug's team right now. But Hoyle is deep and has a lot of ceiling on his players. To the extent that Hoyle's coaching decisions are accurate this week is basically the decision of who's going to win. My bold prediction is that either Hoyle will be the clown owner or the quality control coach of the week by the end of this week.
Yeah. When you have 4 players on your bench who are projected at approximately 10 points, that is quite something. I don't love his pick of the Raiders defense going up against Detroit. I think he should make a change there, but everything else, he's super deep, which could lend him success later on in the season. We'll have to see. Last but not least, or perhaps least, this one is kind of a stinker in my opinion. It is 3 and 4 Forest versus 2 and 5 AJ. To me, this is an absolute toss-up. I think it could go either way, but I'm taking Forest here.
I'm also taking Forrest. He let me down last week, but Mr. Volatility, I think, will bounce back this week. You never know when Arthur Smith will strike next. So, and, some of the key starters are also looking a little banged up for AJ. So I'm taking Forrest, banking on some big weeks from Brees and Zay.
Very good. And with that, episode 8 of Buffalo Boys is in the books. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to our wonderful guest this week, Doug. Todd, good luck to you this week. Great to be back on the pod with you. And good luck to all of our WPFL owners.
Likewise, Ryan. I'm excited for the rest of the season here. We're at the halfway point, and I see a strong rest of the season for both of our teams. For all all of our listeners as well, as they heed our words. They've been commenting about all the great coaching decisions they've made just based off some of the feedback we've given on our own game. So it's exciting to see our influence extend beyond just the WPFL. And thank you again to all of our new listeners. Thank you for sharing this pod. Thank you for smashing that like button, and just like the overs. And thank you again for another great week of Buffalo Boys. And like Doug said, don't get buffaloed.